For us, it was the anniversary of my wife's mother, Olivia Thompson. My wife, Natalie, had been busy for days preparing for the celebration. It was her mom's 50th birthday. Natalie wanted to organize an unforgettable celebration for her and had put her heart into every detail. The preparations were in full swing when I arrived at Natalie's family home after work. The house was filled with the aroma of food, with colorful decorations hanging everywhere, creating a festive atmosphere. Natalie met me at the door, looking stressed but happy. "Andrew, you're here. Mom will be so happy to see you." She hastily kissed my cheek and began giving me instructions. "You're going to help me put the flowers in the vase and take it to the dining room, and then you're going to help your father set the table." I nodded and began to follow Natalie's instructions. The flowers were beautiful, a mixture of roses, lilies, and daisies, and I arranged them carefully in the vase. And when I walked into the dining room carrying the vase, I saw Olivia. She was standing by the window, and when she heard my footsteps, she turned around. I couldn't help but stop. She looked stunning. In a red dress that left nothing to be desired, her hair was styled differently, and she had applied makeup. I was stunned. "Son-in-law," she said, smiling and opening her arms for a hug. I stepped into her embrace, breathing in the familiar scent, but it felt different now. There was something about her that night that made me see her in a new light. As I hugged her, I couldn't help but notice her body pressed against mine. I quickly pulled away, feeling guilty at the thought, but the feeling remained. The evening went very well. We ate, drank, and danced. Olivia was the center of attention, accepting all congratulations with grace and charm. I couldn't take my eyes off her. The way she moved as she danced, the way her dress fit her curves. She radiated confidence and charm, and I felt drawn to her in a way I'd never felt before. I felt the tension building up inside and realized I had to get out of there. I finally excused myself and went outside for some fresh air, hoping the cool night breeze would help me clear my mind. As I stood there smoking a cigarette, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around and saw Olivia. Her presence caught me off guard, and my heart raced. "Andrew, what are you doing out here alone?" she asked. "You should be celebrating with everyone." I shrugged. "I just needed some alone time," I said, trying to sound casual. She stood next to me, and I felt the warmth of her body. And the night was quiet, and the only sound was the faint music coming from the house. Suddenly, she reached out and took the cigarette from my hand, bringing it to her lips for a puff. Her eyes met mine as she returned the cigarette, and her hand touched mine. It was a brief but electric moment that seemed like it would last forever. We stood like that for a few moments, just looking at each other. There was an unspoken understanding between us, an invisible attraction that neither of us could resist. Then she slowly leaned over and pressed down with her, well, you know what. I knew I should have pulled away, but I couldn't. Her lips were beautiful and tantalizing, and I felt a rush of emotion in my legs that I couldn't control. She actually interrupted this and looked up at me with half-closed eyes, her breathing shallow. "Let's go inside," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of my heart. I obediently followed her as she led me into her bedroom. The house was crowded, but we moved unnoticed, as if we were in a world of our own. As soon as we entered, she pressed me against the door and did what I wanted again, this time more insistently. I felt her need and, unable to resist, let myself go. When she pulled off my shirt and pushed me onto the bed, I felt her warmth through the thin fabric of her dress. A sense of urgency, of desperate need, consumed us both. When it was over, she was about to leave, but then she turned and looked at me. "This will stay between us, Andrew. No one can know," she said, her eyes fixed on mine, and with those words she left the room, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I lay there for a long time, trying to comprehend what had just happened. Emotions overwhelmed me. Guilt, excitement, confusion. I had just given my mother-in-law a gift for her 50th birthday that no one else was supposed to know about. When I finally left the room and returned to my guests, I couldn't help but smile. The atmosphere was still festive. People were laughing and dancing, completely unaware of what had happened. I knew that I had just experienced something that most men could only dream of. And who knows, maybe it wouldn't be the last time, because Olivia was still a very attractive woman, and I had a feeling she wasn't done with me yet. As the night went on, I couldn't help but cast glances at her. She was laughing, talking to friends and family, her eyes occasionally meeting mine across the room. Each time it was a knowing look, a secret shared by just the two of us. It all made my heart pound. I knew things had changed between us, and there was no going back. The lines that used to be so clear were now blurred, and I wasn't sure where that path would lead. But one thing I was sure of was that Olivia had awakened something in me, and I wasn't ready to let it go just yet. Later, as we were cleaning up, Natalie came up to me and smiled. "Thanks for helping out today, Andrew. You made things so much easier," she said, and kissed me on the cheek. I smiled back, feeling guilty but strangely excited at the same time. I shifted my gaze to Olivia, who was standing at the other end of the room, and her eyes met mine again. She gave me a small, almost imperceptible smile, and then turned away. It was a promise, a hint of what might come next. And as I stood there, surrounded by my family, I couldn't help but wonder what the future held for Olivia and me.